The Beals Historical Society began with Belton Peabody and Earl, and Sylvia. Earl's wife was Sylvia. She was a Lenfesty, but she married Earl, and he was a Peabody. And my mother, Elmina, and Ruth Carver, and I don't think there was any more, but they got together and they formed the Beals Historical Society and got the nonprofit organization information, and they were here. My mother and Ruth were still alive, and Belton still is now, when these buildings were built. And they were all done through private grants. There is no town money, federal money in any of these buildings. They were all done through grants. So I'll begin the tour with this round wooden trap that was built by my father and geared with his lobster buoy. And this is his exhibit. His claim to fame was that he was the first to have a diesel engine. And that letter is November 17th, 1958. And the diesel engine cost $2,788.06. And the Harris Company that put his boat on their advertisement, and because of the diesel. And this is a boat race. My father was out to haul, and he thought that he would make more money if he came in and joined this race, when probably the actual reason why he wanted to be in the race was to try out his new diesel engine. And I asked his friend, how would I know if he had his diesel engine in that boat? And he said, because you'll see a black plume of smoke coming out of the smokestack. So the whole reason wasn't anything to do with money. It's because he wanted to try that diesel engine out. So this is the milking stool at the Lenfesty farm, which is above the grammar school. The house is above the grammar school. And this is the milking can and the belt that was on the cow. And this is a story about the memories that Sylvia Peabody had, Lenfesty Peabody had, when she grew up on the farm. And this came from the farm. This is a token box used during World War II, during the ration times. And what you had to have was these little tokens. And this is a red token, and this is a blue token. And it says on here, sugar, gas, and coffee. And then you have red number 1, 2, blue 1 and 2. And you had to have these tokens, and they would ration out what you needed. Sad, we're not used to that. We go to the store and get what we want. This is a milk bottle that came from the Lenfesty farm. And one day my mother told me a story. You can see the top on it. She told me a story about how my grandfather had his wagon all loaded with milk bottles. Milk was in all of them. And he supplied the island with milk. And he had the wagon hooked to the horse. Something spooked the horse. He went in the house to get change so he could make change for people if they gave him, bills or something. And something spooked the horse, and the horse ran with the wagon loaded with milk bottles. And when it rounded the corner of the pig pen, the wagon flipped over, and all the milk bottles went into the pig pen. And the pig was quite happy about it, because my mother said that he was munching on the glass bottles, and she said that my grandfather said that the pig would never last till morning because Mama said he had blood coming down his face. And so my grandmother had a lot of faith, and the next morning when my grandfather went out to check on the pig, he was sitting there waiting for his breakfast. So he survived the glass bottled up pig. That was always a story she liked to tell. This is medical, mid-20th century medical equipment that the town office had. So I don't really know much about it, but we have it. These are old bottles that came from Alamanda Alley's farm. And it's interesting. We'll start with this whole bean can because that came from there. And I don't know if you've ever had whole beans, but they put them in the ground and cooked them. And this sweet cider came from Winniport. This is a huge jam jar. And this is Ridge Dairy Farm in Addison. I mean, this is a time when there were businesses in this area and all around. Palmer Beverages and Machias. It was like a orange breakfast drink. And this is pig's feet. And I have a friend whose mother said she loved pig's feet. She could eat the whole jar full of pig's feet. Not me, I'm a fussy fucking am. And I love this jar because of this bottle, because it has a handle, New England Vinegar Works. And this isn't Tropicana orange juice, and Sharpie's Dairy and Machias. Yep, I remember that. And this is Zarex. This is another, like, if it was purple, then you'd get like a grape-flavored drink in it. So I've had this stuff stored in my house for a while. This is a bench that my husband built, and this was his grandfather's seine, and there's a big coil of it underneath there. He was, I don't know if you know what seining is, but it's like big nets, and they drop the nets and bring the fish up in the nets. And so this was part of that, and we chose to display it this way. These are racing trophies that were won by Archie Alley Jr. And he's in a race here. This is a more current race with a fiberglass boat. And then he's ahead in that one. That's an old picture of black and white picture of a wooden boat. And he won this trap. It was a trap chair. No, he didn't win that. No, they had it sitting there, so Mama got a picture of it with him. And let me see, there he is in the middle, the red cap on. He's a good man. And he's showing Mama his lobsters. She used to go out to hold him once in a while. So, this is his exhibit. These are lobster boat race books. This is 1969, and you can see the programs and who won, and so I have a lot displayed, and then I have some over here in boxes, and you go down a little further and you'll see the Stella Ann, Benny Beals. Is that name familiar?
What's the name?
Benny Beal. This was his boat, and it won many boat races, and it's right here.
Just a second.
The Stella Ann belonged to Benny Beal, and he and his grandfather Riley built it. It is fiberglass, but you can see the planking underneath, and it's good that it's been fiberglass, so that helps to preserve it. And that won many trophies in the boat racing business. This boat belonged to Maurice Dow, and he built it, I believe he built it, and it's an overhang stern boat. Here, let me move these so you can get a picture of the rudder, and that's the wheel. And it's kind of being held together, as you can see, with rope. But I had somebody say, why don't you just burn it? And I just can't do that. This has been here since 1902. I'm not going to be the one to take it off the face of the earth. So it shows what he did. And this is the boat builder of the 1902 overhang stern boat. His name was Maurice Dow. So this is Maurice and his family. We're so thankful to have that picture. This is a piece of the old wall from the old Beals School. And Dwayne Carver donated this wainscoting. And it was all like strips of sticks, and some was all pointed. And so there's a piece of plywood here, and my husband fixed this here so that we can see what the walls, they were halfway up walls. This was halfway up, and then they tin the rest of the way. And they had these showing how to get to Manwaring's grave, because he never had a stone until Aunt Deli and her daughter Eileen got donations and bought a stone, and it's setting up in this cemetery. As you can see, that's a boat race.
And that's the old school in the background.
This is the old school. That's Willis Beals Boat Shop.
Yep.
These are boat drawings by builder Bert Frost. This picture is here. And these are, let's see if I can get my glasses right. These are the brothers. If you can get right in on that. Frost family portrait taken in Jonesport in the 1930s. From left to right, Gerald Frost, Bert Frost, Merrill Frost, and Will Frost. They were all boat builders. And these are drawings by Bert Frost. This is Bob Cattell's boat. That was the owner that wanted him. Looks like $19,790. This old bed came from Alamander Alley's farm. And the quilt came from there, the braided rug. And this blanket and the purple blanket over here, what happened was Clayton had a co-op on the end of Perio Point where that people could come and get groceries. And the Indians used to come and trade. They had baskets. They would make these beautiful baskets. And they would trade for things, these baskets for food. So, and these blankets are two things that came from. This was my great-great-grandmother, Mariah Seavey's wheelchair. Wooden, it's a wooden wheelchair. I have a picture of her sitting with her legs crossed in it. It was gone. This is a slop jug. It belonged to my mother. But she told me a story about a man who lived in an apartment down below our house, he and his wife. And it was in the wintertime. And he was coming down over a set of long, steep stairs with a slop jug in his hand and fell. And I guess that all went all over everything. So that's that story. And this is a braided rug that came from the Alamander Alley house, the farm. And I asked about it, and they said that when the women made these braided rugs, that it came from like an old shirt or an old, old clothes or aprons, and they would braid them and then sew them together. So this was my mother's vanity. And there's a little pot, chamber pot, as they called it. There's another one over there. And Charlie Smith, I don't know if you ever remember hearing, these were his paintings. He was my uncle, Hal Burton. They called him Bertie Smith. He was his brother. This was actually in our house. We bought it from people that used to have cows. And this is a nipple for the calves to feed on. So that's old. These were my Falkenham grandparents, paternal grandparents. These were their chairs. And this is a radio box. And you lift the cover up on it. And I don't have anything on the inside, but that's what the radio would sit in there. This would be the switch. And this, and then you'd listen to the radio. It seems like there was a man that used to talk on it or something. What was it? Was it Gene Hooper? Would he have been that old? This sewing machine has the honor of being the only one on Beals Island that could sew vinyl Beals sails for his boats that he built. That's why we have that one. That came from Alamander Ellis as well. This was his wife Myra, and his son Clayton and Fletcher. And this little boy, I'm not sure who it is. I could guess, but I don't dare to. This is a blanket that a woman in Jonesport made, and she donated it, and it has lobster boats on it. She still makes them if anybody wants one. This was my grandmother's. When it's going, it kind of swirls around. It makes the picture look like it's moving. This was given to me by Doris Alley. It's for a birthday cake. I never ever opened it. This was my grandmother, paternal grandmother's. Just a lot. Everything belonged to someone else. These chairs came out of the Wesleyan Church. They put in all new chairs, sort of look more modern. These belong to my great-grandmother, Sarah Margaret. This table is kind of like a replica, but not as big as the original. Tall Barney could sit here when the top was lifted, then he could sit in the chair. But like I said, this isn't the original. Squeaky. I'm not sure what happened to the original. I tried to get it. This came from the old farm, and this is an interesting bottle because the cream would rise to the top and be in this part of it. That came from the old Lanfesti farm. This is how they washed their clothes, this copper boiler. And this was a piece of my old crib. But this fork was found in Freddie Lanfesti's truck underneath the seat. And you would stir the clothes around. And this was my paternal grandmother's scrub board. And she's got a name on it. And can you imagine having to wash your clothes on this scrub board? And then, if you wanted to iron your clothes, which you probably definitely had to, you had this iron. And if you had, we have a modern Clarion cook stove that you would set these irons on to get them hot. And there's another one in here, or another one somewhere. I've got two here, because you had to trade them off, you know. You had to keep switching them. This is I have one that I used to use for a laundry basket. It belonged to my grandmother, but I believe it was for scales, fish scales, a scale basket. This is a toaster, and it's got some dust on it, but you've got the little holes, and you set it on that. Take the plate off on the modern Clarion cook stove and set that on the burner and toast your toast. That belonged to me. I had a lot of stuff. I had plans, but I had a lot of stuff that I brought over here. Now these pictures, you know the little Indian River Church, as they call it, a community building now, and they didn't want these. Yes. Let me show you these pictures first. Okay. Let me just show you. This is called the Gleaners. And what happened was the wheat would grow in the field, and when the wheat was cut and taken, there would be little pieces left on the ground, and these people would take those little pieces and make the flour out of what was left. Now this is a Sears and Roebuck catalog, 1902. I think that's the year my grandmother Lancaster was born. But anyway, you can buy a lot of stuff in here for 19 cents and 10 cents and 47 cents, and there's a lot. Probably Sears and Roebuck Company doesn't even have this kind of book anymore. But here's a windmill. Kenwood hay loader for $31.20. My grandfather had one of these. Yes, I it's back in the Bible times.
Yep.
That's about all I could say about it. This is a picture that belonged to Lillian Huntley with an old man praying over his bread and his soup. And you can see his Bible there, and has his glasses. And he's got a knife on the table to cut the bread. And this is one of Jesus when he was a boy. This picture came from the old Indian River Church, and it's now considered a community building, so they gave me these pictures. This is our veterans exhibit. And if you know of a veteran that you would like to have pictured here, then you can just send me a picture and some information about them. These are the people who have passed away in memory of them. And we have a sign up above that says all gave some and some gave all. Okay, this is, it says on this truck, it says, in memory of Danny Beal, the Thresher replica. One of the many floats in the Jonesport 4th of July celebration commemorated Daniel Beal Jr., formerly of Jonesport. Beal was one of the men who went down with a submarine Thresher April 10th. Standing in front of the float is his wife, Mrs. Joan Wheeler Beal, and children Daniel 10, Harold 5, Kathy 9, and Carol 7. And this is a book that was written about that time, and he is mentioned in it. So this is the sports and schools exhibit, and there's one sports oddities that I'm going to read. And it goes like this. A great basketball record was made at a high school where only 11 boys were enrolled. That was the situation at Beals High at Beals Island, Maine. Of the 11 boys in school, 9 were on the team, a 10th was manager, and the 11th the official rooter. They won 5 games by scores of over 100. One of them, 141-80, won the state sectional title, and then was stymied by an influenza epidemic, which laid low most of the team. The state finals were delayed 6 days, and then Little Beals, with just 11 boys in the school, won the 1950-51 state title of Maine. It's odd but true. That's Guy Jr., the coach, Guy Jr.
Yeah.
That one is Mr. Legier. He didn't know a thing about basketball. He just let them go.
What's for going?
Yes.
Nathan?
That's Nathan's father. He's standing up there in the corner. The Beals Elementary School has those trophies in a showcase. You want to get that old one. Bible belonged to Otis B. Falkenham. It's his family Bible. It was recovered from a derelict schooner, Bertram N. White, found off Africa, donated by Leon Smith Jr. That was found in a ship that evidently the people had been lost off it because no one was on it, and he brought that Bible. And this man's name is on one of the windows at the old 1904 church when you come to the stop sign. His name is there. He's buried out in that cemetery. This is sailmaker's needles and case, fishing line weight, donated by Brunus Faber. People wouldn't know how to use anything like that nowadays. This is the old school.
Right.
This is the last model that Alvin Beal built, and it's named for Sylvia, his last wife. And I'll take this house and all, so you can look down in. At some point, someone had a little motor in there, and you can see up in here the side lockers. And it's made with little strips. And it was donated to us by a man in Connecticut. Somehow he got it, and he passed away, and his wife contacted me and asked if I would like to have it, and I said most definitely. In your October issue, the article on Tall Barney Beal discusses his unusual stature and compares him with the legendary Paul Bunyan, but Beal's actual height is never given. A good clue to his height, however, lies in the photograph which you published showing his son standing on a chair beside him. The chair appears to be an ordinary chair, no reason why any chair in his household should have been otherwise, since he was the only outsized figure in the establishment. Applying a yardstick to every chair in my house showed the average height of the seat to be 17.5 inches. Measuring off the number of times the floor-to-chair seat height goes into the height of Barney Beal in the photograph shows that he is 4 3/4 times the height of the chair seat. From the floor to the top of his head inside his hat, multiplying 4.5 times 17.5 gives a height of approximately 83 inches or 6 feet 11 inches tall. Give or take an inch or two because of unavoidable errors in measuring distances on that photograph. Barney Beal could easily have been 7 feet tall, which is what you say his monument indicates. Waiving my fee as a consulting professional engineer, I make you a present of the value of my time. Edward Ellsbury, Rear Admiral, USNR, St. Petersburg, Florida. Photograph is of the larger painting of the ABC Stubbs has been donated to the Beals Historical Society by the Mitchell family of Islesboro, Maine, in memory of our sister Catherine Marie Mitchell Gray. Kay, granddaughter of Captain Charles R. Pendleton, master of the Stubbs, was an avid lover of all things nautical and especially the bay which surrounds Islesboro. A professional educator, Kay was a highly capable and well-loved teacher and administrator in Maine schools for many years. Upon her retirement, Kay undertook the presidency of the Islesboro Historical Society, furthering her interest in island history as well as that of her own, as a seventh-generation descendant of one of Islesboro's first settlers. And this name board is the original that was on this ship, the ABC Stubbs.